Stay at home on 9 to 5, raising your babies with joy and pride. A real ass mom, you're a real ass mom. Taking care of business. Ooh, girl, you're resilient. 'Cause you're a real ass mom. A real ass mom.
Welcome to the Real Mama Pod. Real ass moms sharing real ass experiences. The things people don't tell you.
Hey, Mama. Hey.
Hey, Mama.
How are you, friend?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited about our conversation today.
Are you?
I am. I really am.
I am too, because this is a goal of mine, of ours, of everybody's. So I'm hyped. I talked about this at our last episode of the year when we closed out season 1.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm stoked. I'm ready.
Yes. I think we're just going to go ahead and get into it because me and Devin are so excited about why we're here. So we are here to talk about generational wealth, financial literacy. What can we do to set ourselves and our families up for success?
Yes.
And when Devin and I talked about this being a topic for our podcast, I said, I think I know the perfect person for this. Even though I have never met her in person, I have had a lot of contact with her family, and I feel like this person would be a good fit to come on and talk with us about this topic.
Okay.
So we have Mrs. Leslie Riley here. And Leslie is part owner of LesWin Financials, which is the financial advisory group that Jonathan and I are a part of. So we meet with her husband on a monthly basis. He's always available for us. If we have questions, we can text him, we can email him, whatever. Like, he's provided us so much guidance. And I personally am super happy to have Leslie here. And LesWin is, so her name is Leslie, and her husband's name is Sherwin.
Yes, I know. It's so brilliant.
Like,
I love it.
LesWin.
I love that.
Yes. So Leslie is Leslie, are you from Florida? Because I see you went to Florida State.
I am from Florida. Yes, I was born at Broward General Hospital in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. So yes, born and raised.
South Florida native. Like I mentioned, she went to Florida State University. She is a certified accountant, which is amazing. Black woman. I am here for all of that. Yeah. And she is a mama of 3 boys. So, and the work that they're doing with their boys to teach them about financial literacy, it's amazing. We'll talk more about that. But welcome to the Real Mama Pod, Leslie.
Welcome. Thank you. Hey, Mama. Hey, thank you for having me. Thank you for having me today.
Loving the energy. So, Leslie, before we get started, can you briefly tell us about your journey to mamahood?
Okay. Well, I mean, I got married in 2010 after knowing my husband for only a year. Sometimes when you know, you just know. So it wasn't too long after we had our first son, Avery, in 2012. And every 3 years, another one seems to come along. I said, my mom was very instrumental in, she's from Jamaica, and, you know, the way they do it, they help out, you know, so she was very instrumental in helping us, you know, manage our busy schedules. She was she still is Nana to our boys. So every time the youngest one was ready to go to preschool at age 3, we had another baby to hand over to her. So we kept her young. So now all 3 of them, we have a 10-year-old Avery, we have a 7-year-old Carter, and a 4-year-old Blake. So now Blake is in preschool. So now she's kind of finding new things to do. But still helping
we're at 4.
Much.
We're at the age 4. So are we, is there another one? Or
well,
are we
as you see, that boat passed a year ago because we missed the boat. We said, I think we're done. I think our family is complete. I mean, if the Lord decided to bring another child into our life, it would have to be another way.
I love it. So we mentioned that, you know, you all are in a financial capacity to spread knowledge and support your community. So what are some key things that we could do and our listeners to set our families up for financial success in the future?
Okay, in all practicality, let me just say this. We're, at the end of the year. The first thing I want to say is, look at your statements and see how much you've spent on Christmas shopping. Because a lot of people, they just buy, and they just want to make everybody happy. But presents don't make people happy. Love makes people happy. And there are ways to show love without, breaking your bank. So I always say, as soon as you think about it, review your statements. How much have you spent on Christmas shopping? And if you're not done Christmas shopping, evaluate how much can you really afford to spend, and reevaluate the things you haven't purchased yet. Are they really necessary? Is there a less expensive option that you can replace that gift with? I mean, we used to buy our kids any and everything they needed. And, especially when we only had one or two, and then they would always ask for more. And I'd say, you know what? That's it. I said, Jesus got 3 gifts. You're going to get 3 gifts. And guess what? We set the expectation, and they were very happy for their 3 gifts. I mean, they may get other gifts from other family members, but, as far as in our household, we said, you can give us a list of everything you want, but you're not going to get everything on that list. You know what I mean? And they are very content with what they receive now, because you set the expectation. If you make your children feel like they have to have everything they want, and they get it every time, then that's the expectation they're going to have. And you think you're helping them, but no, that's not helping them, because you're really taking away from what is their financial future. And then as 2023 is coming, I would say, if you haven't already, set your budget. Really sit down, look where your money is going. See what you spend on a monthly basis. See what you spend on, things that may not come all the time, but you always have to have money set aside. Plan it out. Because if you don't know where your money's going, it'll be gone, and you'll wonder where it was.
Yes, indeed. That's a lesson learned.
Yeah, 3 gifts.
We continue to learn.
Yeah, I like that 3 gift thing. I'm gonna steal that for when the boys get older. So we hear this buzzword now. It's really popular, generational wealth. Okay, so like everybody's talking about it, right? But they say it, but they're not saying how to obtain it, right? Mm-hmm. So if you could briefly just tell us what generational wealth is, and how can one who's interested obtain it?
Okay. Wise person once said, you want your children to start off where you left off, not start off where you started off.
Right.
So you really have to say, what have I learned in my lifetime, and how can I pass this on? Because, my mom didn't know anything about investing, or, it was paycheck to paycheck. So she didn't really have much to pass on to me. But I don't want that to be the case with my children. Every generation should get better. So you start with some practical things. They can't inherit your job, but they can inherit your assets. Okay. Mm-hmm. So it's important to work a job until you can sustain what you're doing without it, but use your job as funding for your generational wealth. So any extra you have, once you've budgeted, you've set aside, you can use the funds that you have set aside to create assets, because assets are what you can pass on to your children. Okay. You also want to teach them good spending habits. Like now they have like green light cards. They have many different things that you can utilize. There are many children's programs also, but you want to just in your everyday life, like when you go to the supermarket or the restaurant, say, how much do you think this bill is going to come up to? And they're going to give you a number, and then you tell them what it really is. And then it gives them a realistic, perspective of, this is how much it costs to feed you this week, or, or for this nice dinner. Like everything costs money. And that's one thing I definitely like to tell my children, like everything costs money. So you have to decide, is it worth the cost,
Right. Yeah. So you've covered some practices that you have with your children to teach them about financial literacy, but how soon did you engage them with financial literacy?
Okay. As soon as they started doing chores around the house, we saw this thing on Etsy, and it was the cutest thing. It's a save, spend, give jar. So it's like a little wooden thing with their name engraved on the side. And it was just a really nice gift. So it was, I don't know if it was a birthday gift or something we gave to our oldest son. And it has like 3 glass, like mason jars with open tops. And, in a chalkboard, it has save, spend, give. And so when they would do chores around the house, we'd say, okay, here's $5, and we'd give them singles, always singles. So it's easy for them to split it up. And if they're older, maybe it's 10, but I always give singles, and I'd say split it up. And so they would divide it up, and they would give some to save, some to give, and then some to spend. And just teaching them that, the first thing you do is give. So when you go to Sunday school, this is your tithe or your offering, however you want to say it. But, the fact that we have money to give you is something to be thankful for. You know what I mean? When you work for money, it's a blessing. So you give back. So we taught them at an early age, you give when you go to Sunday school. So they would put that in the give jar. And then save, we'd say, okay, you want this Pokemon card or something, you're going to save up for it, like we're not going to just buy you everything, save up for it. You're doing your chores, save up your money. And then we would say spend, like if you want to spend, $1 or $2 and go to the Dollar Tree and go buy a toy to play with now, that's fine. But you don't want to spend all your money at one time.
Got it. So is it ever too late to start financial planning?
No, it's never. That's like, is it too late to breathe? Like, no, take that next breath. Like, if you can take it. And you say, once and it's the best time to start is today. So as soon as now is the time to start. Don't hesitate any further. But there's lots of things you can do, like open up an investment account for your child. Like start doing those practical things, like giving them dollar allowance and showing them how to spend it. Another thing I like that Sherwin did when the kids were young is he bought them, they used to love to go to McDonald's and they wanted that Happy Meal. So it was a birthday that came up and he said, guess what I got you for your birthday? And he pulled out a certificate and he said, I got you stock in McDonald's. And, at first they're like, well, what does that mean? And he's like, well, you own a piece of McDonald's. So every time we go get a Happy Meal, a little bit of that comes back to you. And so they got so excited. And so we just teach them, like, you should, whatever you spend a lot of money on, you should own a piece of it. So
I need to own part of Starbucks then.
Hello.
Exactly. And you should. Real talk, you should. Anywhere that's taking your money, you should own a piece of it. So whether that's Apple stock or, if you have to have that new iPhone, I better see that Apple stock in your portfolio. So whatever, that's like the golden rule. Whatever you spend your money on, you should own a piece of it. And that goes with your kids too. So whatever they ask for, I'm like, okay, well, let's see if we can get some stock in this. Because if you're spending money on it, you should be getting a piece of it.
Yes, indeed.
Yes. So you talked about it not being too late, like we can start today. So all our mamas who's listening that are looking to start this process, and daddies, aunties, whoever, what are some tools that you have that you can suggest to us that we can start? I know you said the stock, but is there anything else that we can be working on or trying to work on to kind of build that foundation?
There are so many avenues that you can go down. The first thing I want to say is what Kendra said. She works with Sherwin and she and her husband meet with him on a monthly basis. You are not going to get your questions answered in a 30-minute podcast. You are not going to get your questions answered in a 30-minute conversation with anyone. This is an ongoing learning process. So get with someone who can answer all your questions, because Google can only take you so far, and it's not going to give you, you need someone to practically walk you through it, because it's very, you can read an article, but not understand how to apply it, or kind of be afraid that you're going to do it wrong, or, so get with someone you can trust that you can say, well, how do I open up this account for my children? You know what I mean? Like, whose name is it supposed to be? Who's the beneficiary supposed to be? Is my name supposed to be on the account? And they can walk you through it, because obviously they've done it. They've helped other people do it. They always say, surround yourself with people who are where you want to be, right? Or who know what you want to know. So once you can have someone you trust, they can walk you through the process. And then, because everybody's financial education and financial plan is going to be different. Like, for example, we own a home. We own multiple homes, but one thing we wanted to do is own a multifamily unit. So we're like, okay, well, this is like a big thing, like how are we going to get all this money? How are we going to get a loan so big, you know what I mean, to get this multifamily unit? And it was just a dream we had, especially Sherman, but it was a dream I had also. So we did something called a cash out refinance. So we refinanced our own mortgage, took cash out of it, because especially when the property values are up, you have a lot of equity in your home.
Right.
So we took out equity out of our home, not all of it, but enough to put a 20% down payment on the multifamily unit. So we took the money out, used that as a down payment for another mortgage that, is, mind you, you have to plan out your money, see what you can afford on a monthly basis, see what the market value is for where the property is located, to estimate conservatively how much rent you're going to bring in, how much your expenses are going to be. You got to do a little bit of research, and that's something Sherwin can walk anybody through. But this is just a perfect example of how once you do acquire assets like your own home, you can use one asset to acquire another asset and bring in residual income, that's called. When you like, I'm sleeping at night, but that rental property is bringing in money while I'm sleeping.
Yeah, that's the goal.
Yeah.
Making money while I'm sleeping.
Yep, absolutely.
So I feel like a lot of people in our generation, or just anyone, like we have a hard time with figuring out how to live life and have fun, but also set ourselves up to have a successful financial future. Is it possible to do both? And if so, like how can one balance that?
It is definitely possible. One thing is to set your expectation. Just like I said, set your children's expectations with the gifts. You have to set your own expectation. You can live life without living it to the fullest. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Meaning, like, you can do something fun on a weekend. You don't have to spend $500 to do it. You know what I mean? There are people who can go out and spend $50, and there are other people that will go out to the same place and spend 500, so you just have to like temper your set boundaries for yourself, set guardrails to protect yourself. I like that word. Guardrails kind of sounds a little bit more just like a safety thing, not a barrier thing. So set guardrails for yourself to protect yourself. So once you have set your budget and you see what's left over, I like to do the automatic transfer. So instead of having your full paycheck come into your bank account, have a portion of it automatically go into an investment account, or automatically go into a high return, long-term savings account, so that you don't even see that money, so you don't miss it. Okay. So then you learn to live on a lesser amount of income, because that's what you see in your bank account. And then over time that builds up, and you can, use that to fund your next investment or endeavor. But to have a recurring small amount, it adds up over time. And then before you know it, at the end of the year, you're like, wow, I've saved up this, and now I have 6 months of what they call emergency fund, where it was impossible for you to do before. But if you figure out how much it's going to take and you split it up over the year, a year later, you have it set aside. So a little bit over time is the easiest way to do it.
Hey.
So you mentioned briefly about a long-term savings fund. So as far as saving accounts, because I know, like for me growing up, I was told by my mom, grandmother, just have a savings account, right? But now that I'm an adult and actually learning more about finances, I realize a savings account doesn't really do much, right? So do you find them beneficial? If not, why? If so, like, what am I doing wrong?
They're necessary. They are not as profitable as they were in the past, but they do have banks like Ally, I'm not sure how it's properly pronounced, where the yield is a little bit higher than a normal. I wouldn't just have savings in Bank of America, over what's absolutely necessary to have quick access to. But usually if in an Ally or Ally account, you can access your money fairly quickly, and you get a higher interest rate because of it, because it's not directly accessible. They'll give you a higher interest rate. But I mean, I wouldn't put all my money there. I would have enough that if there was an emergency, I can access it quickly. But there are investment avenues where at least you would get a higher return, maybe get a dividend on a regular basis. And if you know you're not going to need the money anytime soon, then that's usually more of a good, but those are long-term things. Like they're not put it in, take it right back out, because that wouldn't be beneficial either. But if you can set money aside long-term, like I said, a little bit every paycheck where you don't see it, then you don't need it, then that's more beneficial long-term.
Something, right? Because savings accounts are not talked about like they were when we were young children.
Yeah.
Like our grandparents opened up savings accounts for us, or savings bonds. I don't know if that's still a thing. But I know that's something that Sherwin actually talked to us about, like shifting our money into like an IRA, something that we can see a return on when saving money. The money we're saving is actually making us.
And then there are also rules that will protect you, that let's say you did have a big emergency and you needed to take cash out, you can. There may be a early withdrawal penalty, but if you have an emergency, you're just going to pay the 10% penalty. But if that did happen, that is still an option for you to access your money.
Yeah. Well, that's good to know. I'm sure a lot of people have questions about what that process looks like. So Leslie, you talked about how you all refinanced your home and used the equity to purchase the multifamily unit that you all have dreamed of having. Are there other ways to borrow money from plans, like investment plans, retirement plans, insurance policies? Like, are there other avenues to use?
There are lots of avenues. I'm definitely not an expert in this area. This is more of a Sherwin question. But I will just say, like, just from my experience, he's not really into the borrowing from insurance plan. I know there are many people I know who are advocates of that. He's just not a fan for valid reasons. But obviously you have to own a property to borrow money from it. Not everybody owns a property yet. Sometimes that's the goal, to own their first property, and that's understandable. But that's the first step to kind of getting yourself in the game, trying to own your own property, because renting is just giving money away, especially in this real estate market. The rent is sky high, the properties are sky high. But owning is the best way to invest in yourself, owning your own property, because no matter where the economy goes, long-term property always appreciates. Always. Sometimes it appreciates faster and sometimes it appreciates slower, but it always appreciates. So that's the biggest thing I could say.
Yeah, we'll have to have Sherwin on when the guys come back. We've had our husbands on the podcast and they've talked about a number of topics, and I think it would be good to have one of those good old daddy talks about finances. We're happy to have.
Trust you me, when he heard I was doing this, he was very jealous. He was like, "I wish I could do it." I was like, "This is for the women."
I can tell.
This is for the ladies, strictly for the ladies.
And we love to hear women's perspectives when it comes to finances, because it is a male-dominated topic. So I'm so happy again that you agreed to join us tonight. So thank you. We have one more question for you.
Okay.
I just went by so fast. Do you want to ask the last question?
So financial tips. What is one thing you wish, or two or three, whatever you feel, you wish every mama knew? Like just some basic stuff, because I feel like with generational gaps, right? And what our parents, like you were saying, if our parents were immigrants or whatever, what they were exposed to is totally different from what we're exposed to, right? And a lot of times we have things at our fingertips where our parents did not. So like trying to close that gap, like what are three or one or whatever you feel like sharing? What are some tips you wish mamas knew?
Well, the first thing I would say, we have the internet now, so we know way more than they ever knew. But I would say, don't be afraid to find out what you don't know. You know what I mean? I feel like our parents' generation were content with what they knew, and they didn't have that desire to figure out what everyone else is doing. Like they just kind of accepted, like, this is where we are, that's where they are. And they didn't ask why, And so now I feel like our generation is asking, well, why are they doing better? Why are they so much more advanced financially than we are, what are they doing differently? And we're figuring it out that we can do it too. You know what I mean?
Right.
Once you have the plan, we can all do it. And maybe they have a head start, but hey, it's never too late to start. So where we get started now, we're getting it better for the next generation. Another tip I would say is, like I said before, always know where your money is going. A lot of times it's easy to feel like I'm getting by, but is that good enough for you? Is that meeting your goals? So the first step in financial stability, you have to be stable before you can be, financially fit. So just to get stable, the first thing you need to know is where your money is going. You have to have a budget. You have to be able to say, this is not necessary. Why am I spending money on this? I could be using this for something, more beneficial, more generational, more, and just learn to control your money, because if you don't control your money, it will eventually control you.
That's a word.
I know. We might have to tag that one and then put Leslie Riley.
Look, that might be the name of the episode.
Right.
Oh,
I think you just gave us the title of this episode, Leslie.
Yeah.
Just in that last bar.
That last bar.
Before we get into Mama's Juice, Leslie, can you share briefly what LesWin Financials is and how we can contact you all, or mamas can contact you if they're interested in the service?
Okay, I'll just say, when my husband and I got married, we were not financially savvy. I mean, I was a CPA, but to be honest with you, I didn't have much of an investment account. I just kind of did the bare minimum at work. I didn't know. My parents didn't know. And as much as I knew as tax work, as I knew about taxes, I didn't know as much as I should have known about financial intelligence. And it wasn't until Sherwin had a conversation with his dad, who was investing, and he really got the desire to know more. And he was like, why don't people know this? And so he literally started reading every book he could get a hold of, anything he could, to educate himself financially. And then he made it his mission in life to teach everyone else, especially people in the Black community. But in any community, really, anybody who wants to learn, he's willing to teach, obviously. But it's a clear deficit in our community where people just don't know what they don't know, and they've just accepted that that's the way it is, and it doesn't have to be that way. So what he does, and he has a full-time job. He's actually a government contract manager, but because he's so passionate about this, he spends all his extra time. If he's not doing family time, he's doing time helping other families get to learn the knowledge he's already learned and learn how to physically and practically apply it in their lives. And he gets a lot of satisfaction from it. I am more on the tax preparation side of it. I was with a very big national firm, and I'm just now deciding, I just last week put in my resignation, and I'm going to take a smaller position in a smaller firm because some partners are retiring, and I'm looking over to take over some book of business. So I'm more expanding the tax preparation and consulting side of things, not in LesWin Financial, but as, in addition to it. So I'm really looking forward to servicing some of his clients from LesWin Financial so that I can help them with their tax planning and consulting and preparation in the future.
That is amazing.
I love that.
They are such an amazing couple.
So where can they find y'all? How can they contact y'all? Are you on social media? If they want to reach out or have any questions?
We are definitely on social media, LesWin Financial. You will see Sherwin on Instagram. He has a community on Facebook as well. There's a website, LesWinFinancial.com, that you can go and see a lot of more information about the company and access him directly.
Awesome. We're going to have all of this information in our description box and on our social media platforms as well. So don't feel like you have to jot it down right now. We'll have it for you. Yes, we will have it for you. Thank you, Leslie.
This is so much fun.
I'm so happy, or we're happy you had a good time with us. So I mentioned to you before we started that we have a Mama Juice.
Okay.
And I'm curious though, what is your favorite type of alcohol if you drink?
I don't drink much, but when I do, it's very weak. So I have two favorite drinks. I like to have Malibu and pineapple juice, and I also love an amaretto sour.
Really?
That's way
That
back
sounds
college
like
days,
Devin. Yeah, Devin is, I guess what you said, in quote, weak drinker. But Leslie, I'm afraid that the drink that we made might be a little too strong for you today.
It is. I'm gonna tell you this.
But I will share what the drink is and why we picked this drink. Devin only had one sip of the drink, y'all, because it might be a little strong. But anyway,
it's good, but it's just strong. You got to sip this one. Sip it slowly. But I guess for finances, you got to take your time.
Sip it. You gotta plan it all out good. And exactly.
Yeah.
You gotta take your time. It has to sit right with you. So we titled this drink Money Bag.
Money Bag Ma.
Money Bag Ma. We called it Money Bag Ma because this is a conversation that we wanted to have about how we as mothers can build financial literacy and wealth for our families, right? So we also, y'all know, we do a little research on the types of things or ingredients that we put in our drinks. So basil is in this drink. And we learned that basil is an herb that's associated with wealth. And that's why we added it as an ingredient in this drink. So what it has is 2 ounces of bourbon. So I don't know if you, you might want to do 1 ounce of bourbon, Leslie, and all mamas who, in quote, have a weak tolerance for alcohol. 2 ounces of bourbon. It has 1 ounce of Grand Marnier, which is also an alcohol associated with wealth. And you might want to do a half an ounce if you're, in quote, a weak drinker. We have a half an ounce of simple syrup, an ounce of lemon juice, blackberries, which is a fruit associated with wealth, and that fresh basil. So we put all of that into a cocktail shaker and we serve it over ice. Of course, garnish your beverage with a fresh basil leaf. It really adds an extra flavor. But if you are a mama who does not drink, or you can't drink, or this could be the weak version, we do have a mocktail option that has 4 ounces of lemonade and a half an ounce of non-alcoholic triple sec, a half an ounce of simple syrup, those fresh blackberries, and the fresh basil leaves.
No, that sounds
shake
delicious.
All that up and put it on ice. Yeah. And that is Money Bag Ma.
Yes.
That's
I
Money
love
Bag
it.
Ma.
I love it. So our next segment is my favorite segment of the show. It's called Mama's Corner. So Mama's Corner is our opportunity to connect with our guests, connect with our listeners, and you either write in, send a mama hack, ask for advice. Look, we are no experts, okay? So we just speak based on our experiences. And if you want to send some drink ideas to Ken, it's just an opportunity for us to connect with our community, okay? And so because we have this wonderful topic about finances and money and stuff, I just wanted to ask an additional question since we have Leslie.
Okay.
So for that mama who is just working at 9 to 5, doesn't really have residual income right now, but wants to start that, like, where do they begin? You mentioned earlier about having a financial advisor, but like, let's break that down all the way. Like, what are the basics? Where can they start? How can they start today if they wanted to?
Okay. I would Google budget template.
Okay.
Budget template. And I would literally put in all my income. And if you're not sure what that is, you just go to your bank statement, your credit card statement, whatever kind of statement you have, pull them up and write down or put in a spreadsheet in the template every item of money coming in, every single item of money going out. Now, I would add up like the small things, like if you total up your gas, put that on one line item, total up your grocery bill, put that on one line item, total up going out for fast food, put that on one line item, going out for restaurant food. I like to split that because you may want to plan out. I go to a restaurant, twice a month, but I may get fast food a little bit more often. You can group it in one, and then you can decide, well, this month I did too much fast food, so I won't go to the restaurant, So some people like to group it. Some people, depending on your lifestyle, if it's a big line item, then I would split it. And then every line item that comes in that's consistent, I would have a separate line item for that. And then you see, is it red? Is it in the negative? So where you're using a credit card to meet your bills every month, or is it in the green? So if it's in the green, great, you're in the green. So that's step one, get in the green. So if you're in the red, you want to figure out which of these line items can I decrease from the money that's going out? Like, what's something that is, maybe you have a subscription that you no longer use and it's just coming out of your month, coming out of your statement every month, and you just haven't thought about it, like a gym membership, and you're not going to that gym, or Netflix, and you never watch Netflix, so why am I paying for Netflix? Just an example. So just weed out what you don't really need, or what you can do without. Maybe you do use it, but you don't use it that often, and you're like, is it really worth this monthly subscription? Then maybe take away a subscription, and then you take that money and subscribe to something like financial education that can help you get on your feet and set up a real plan to get to take the next step, and the next step, and the next step, and the next step. A lot of times people feel like they can't afford financial education, but maybe if you got rid of one of the other subscriptions that you're not using, you can, or even if it's temporary, maybe it's not even forever, but whatever your priority is, you have to set your own priorities. Right now, your priority might not be Netflix. Your priority might be financial education.
Yeah, that's real. That's real. I love that. I love how you broke it down to the basics. I really love that. So thank you for that.
I need to start breaking down the fast food restaurant.
Yeah, me too. We're gonna add that. Thank you for that tip. Ooh, Jared's gonna love this episode.
I think Jonathan is too. He was actually very excited about us recording this episode.
He said a lot of things he's been telling me. So.
Before we end things, friend, where can the people find us on social media?
Oh, you took my line, but it's okay. You all can find us on all platforms. That's TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, wherever, at therealmamapod.com. If you want to learn more about us, you can check out our website where we have mama merch and auntie merch at therealmamapod.com. Mm-hmm. And then if you want to reach out to us for Mama's Corner, you can email us at mama@therealmamapod.com. And
you've covered it all,
I think I covered it all. And don't forget to write, rate, and send us podcast out to all your friends.
This is going to be one to forward to your friends for sure. Because it's just too great of an episode not to share.
Right. We're at the top of the year. We all have those money goals.
Yes.
So start today. Like Leslie said, today is never too late to start. And, we're in that period of our lives. We want to have fun. We want to do the brunches. We don't want to miss a beat. Mm-hmm. But sometimes if you sacrifice that just a little bit, like Jared said, if you just sacrifice 6 months, which I've been struggling with. Okay.
6 months is a long.
6 months.
You were struggling. You struggle no more. Not from this day.
Thank you. Yes, speak that to me. But yes, if you sacrifice 6 months of brunch, right? Like you can go so far. So we'll hold each other accountable.
We will, friends.
And Leslie, thank you so much. We really enjoyed you. You were great, thorough.
Leslie's coming back.
Yes.
We might have to do like a couples, like her and Sherwin, and then
the guys.
And
yeah. Where are y'all based?
Maybe for Valentine's Day, that'd be nice.
Couples getting this money.
Money love. They're in Fort Lauderdale.
Okay,
right. That's right.
Yes, Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Okay, we'll figure something out for sure.
South Florida. We were just down there.
Yeah, we were. Dang.
It's nice and warm. We were in the pool earlier today.
Love it. Yeah, when we were down there for Thanksgiving, we were at the beach. So I'm sad. Now it's cold and rainy here, but but until next time.
Bye.
Thank you.